What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our season preview for the Atlanta Falcons. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, before we get into today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video as it will help us out tremendously. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. All right, Nick, with the 2022 NFL season fast approaching, we have our final season preview to get to. We have done 31 of these. This marks 32. The Atlanta Falcons last on the docket. And Nick, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Atlanta Falcons and what they did this offseason. Taking a look at what players they were able to bring in and really help this team, we have to start in the draft looking at big-time wide receiver Drake London coming out of the University of Southern California. This guy is a massive beast. He can go up and grab the ball at its peak. He knows how to moss these guys, and he can do it in style and in fashion. I really like what he's going to be able to bring to this offense. Other players you want to look at are also going to be Marcus Mariota, the new head quarterback for this team, the guy that's going to be calling plays, working under center, and Bryan Edwards also coming over from the Las Vegas Raiders in that trade. This is a huge pickup, especially with the loss of Calvin Ridley. And speaking of losses, some players that are not going to be returning to this team. We start at that quarterback position once again. Matt Ryan not returning for the first time since he was drafted by this team. And then you have to take a look at players like Dante Fowler and also Hayden Hurst not coming back to this team. So Nick, when you take a look at these additions, when you take a look at the subtractions, kind of where this team is, I want to run this a little bit like we did in our Texans video. If you guys have been watching, we did that one a little bit differently. And Nick, I want you to put up the final screen of what the Falcons schedule looks like based on our predictions. Not looking so hot. 3-14 is our final record. And I want you to talk to us a little bit about kind of where the Falcons are as a franchise and what led to this 3-14 record.
Yeah, well, the Atlanta Falcons have been through a lot of trials and tribulations over the last few years, and it seems like ever since Julio Jones departed from this team, they have not had the identity that they had during that Super Bowl run. And now with Matt Ryan gone, they are definitely in a full rebuild. Getting Marcus Mariota was a nice addition. I believe that Mariota deserves another chance at starting in the NFL, and what he did in Las Vegas was a nice glimpse at what he's capable of doing. But when you look at this team as a whole and you take into account Calvin Ridley not playing this season, I think this is a great opportunity to put your young stars at the forefront of this team. And you look at the rookies in Drake London and Desmond Ridder. And to me, Desmond Ridder was one of the most overlooked quarterbacks in this draft class. And I had him as a top 15 guy. To me, Desmond Ridder is the full package. What he did in Cincinnati was spectacular, and he is the true definition of a dual threat quarterback. He can put the ball where he needs to, but he has the intelligence and football IQ to take off and run, and has that 4.4 speed. A lot of people are not talking about what he is actually capable of doing. And then when you look at Kyle Pitts and Drake London around him, these are some big athletic weapons that can go a long way. Since the Atlanta Falcons know they are not playing for anything special this year, why not take this opportunity to improve your draft pick, but at the same time give the experience necessary to these young guys? That way they are fully equipped and ready to go in the coming seasons to then take on the rest of the NFL and compete.
Yeah, I think one overlooked fact that we haven't talked about yet, and Nick, I want to bring to your attention because I want your opinion on this. The fact is, this team is incomplete because they're missing a guy who was suspended for the entire season, that being big-time wide receiver Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley is a young star wide receiver, and I know prior to that suspension, it was looking pretty shaky as to whether he'd be on the roster. He had a trade demand in, and there were a lot of rumors about where he might be going. All of that went out the window when the suspension for gambling came out here, and now the Falcons are without Calvin Ridley's services. He's sitting at home for an entire season. I think if you added him to this roster, you're adding another possibly 3 to 4 wins alone. When you take a look at teams like the Seahawks, the Browns in week 4 without Deshaun Watson, when you take a look at the Chicago Bears in week 11, the Commanders in week 12, those are games that could be won if they have the dynamic trio of Drake London, Calvin Ridley, and Kyle Pitts on their offense. Whether it's Desmond Ridder or Marcus Mariota, I think that they have what it takes on the offensive side of the ball to really push the envelope and get this thing going. The problem for me is the defensive side of the ball. Outside of AJ Terrell, I don't really know who's going to be able to cover in here. You can talk about Casey Hayward and what he's able to bring. I think he's just washed up. I think we've seen his best years behind him, and it's not going to be a pretty sight as he moves forward. We need to see more youth brought in, and this is a point to what you were just talking about. We need to see a new head coach brought in. I don't think Arthur Smith is the right guy. I think that they need somebody who can come in and instill confidence like we saw Dan Campbell do with the Detroit Lions. I do not like Arthur Smith as a head coach. I think that there needs to be a change at the helm. They need a whole culture makeover. This team is very flatlined right now. There's no sauce. There's nothing getting you excited. At least with the New York Jets, they have Robert Saleh. They brought in weapons. They are going with a youthful approach. They have guys who are just getting their fans excited. The Detroit Lions, the same way. Hell, even the Houston Texans have a little more fire. The Atlanta Falcons are as flat can get, and I really don't understand where the trajectory of this team is going. I think that they need to really focus, like you said, on getting younger, getting healthier, getting players back, and really focusing on building this team in a post-Tom Brady era.
Exactly. I think that's the key. Tom Brady's still in division. The New Orleans Saints are a very strong team, and the Carolina Panthers are just simply above the Atlanta Falcons at this point. So take advantage of this time, really work on improving your team and see if there's any diamonds in the rough on this roster. There's a lot of guys who are trying to make a name for themselves, and we've seen in the past, especially like you said with the Detroit Lions last year, Dan Campbell, new head coach, and he got some guys to play for him at an exceptional level that we had no idea about. I believe that we can see the same with this Atlanta Falcons roster, and that's going to help them in the long run. They're really starting to get those key pillars solidified on the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball, and if they can really hit on this quarterback position, I think that the Atlanta Falcons have a really strong future. I don't necessarily agree with you about Arthur Smith. I do think that he has a very strong offensive play style that plays well with the weapons they have. But I think he's definitely got to get this defense under control, because this is by far and away the weak link on this team. And Grady Jarrett being the guy up front, AJ Terrell being the guy in that secondary, there's nothing else that's really scaring you on the defensive side of the ball. And that's where they're going to really struggle this season.
No, I absolutely agree. And I also want to add Deion Jones as well. I think he's a really good player maker in the middle of this defense. But I think that the Atlanta Falcons have their marching orders. This is not going to be a season in which their fans are super excited about. But if they can get some development, this is a year. Nick, you talked about how the Detroit Lions kind of found some guys last year. Nobody knew who Amani Oruwariye was at this time last year. All of a sudden, he is one of the top corners in the NFL, and he is looked at as one of the fiercest competitors on the Detroit Lions. The Atlanta Falcons have that same opportunity. This is the time where those guys can make a name for themselves and really put themselves on notice and put the entire team on notice and saying, listen, I'm fighting for my job, I'm fighting for this team, and I'm going to make sure that my name gets noticed amongst the pack that we have here. But I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below about the Atlanta Falcons record prediction, and also let us know what you think about Julio Jones going to the division rival Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.